What is up, y'all? Listen, if you missed out on Peak Partnership 2022, then you have been living in absolute FOMO for an entire year. And you know what? I don't want that for you. But I got good news for you. Peak Partnership 2023 is coming up. So, man, we can't wait for you to join us in Orlando, Florida. It's February 17th to the 19th. And I'll tell you this, it'll be an even bigger and better event. We're talking more people to network with, more opportunities, more multifamily opportunities, awesome headliners. And, of course, your boy Tyler Deveraux is going to be up there speaking as well. It's the event of the year, and I can promise you this, you will not want to miss out. So listen, visit mfmpeakpartnership.com. I'll say it again, mfmpeakpartnership.com for more details and reserve your seat right frickin' now. This event is going to be epic. You do not want to miss out, so click the link in our description to register. Sincerely, what are you waiting for? Click the frickin' link, mfmpeakpartnership.com, and register, and I cannot wait to see y'all there. Aloha. All right, aloha, and welcome to another Aloha Friday drip right here in the Maui office with Jackson, Mother effing Campbell. Pumped to be back here in Maui, dude. It's a beautiful, gosh damn, it's a beautiful day.
The sun's shining.
Sun is shining.
Yeah. It's a beautiful day. I don't know. Are you singing a song?
Yeah, it's a Bob Marley song.
Oh.
Yeah, but great day. I was
is.
telling you, man, I've been out in Florida, and God bless everybody who lives in Florida, but man, it F's with my sinuses, my
Does it?
allergies, and just being back in Maui, it's like, whew, it feels good, bro.
It's good air here.
Yes.
It really is kind of crazy when you jump off the plane in Maui. You can feel the difference
Immediately,
in the air
bro.
when you take a breath out.
I come down that escalator,
Yeah.
immediately.
You can feel it.
It's unbelievable.
It's awesome. Beautiful place.
Okay, brother, what are we talking about? What are we diving into today?
Today we're going to talk about ownership. Extreme ownership, obviously, is the book of the month. If you're tuning in for the extended cuts with Dallas and I, we're talking about extreme ownership.
When does this
month.
drop? It's probably not going to drop till towards the end of the month.
Towards the end of the month.
But listen, man, if you have not read that book, Extreme Ownership, dude, it's one of my favorite books. You know, like amazing, amazing book, and it's very readable too. Like it's in story form, right? You know, Jocko Willink and his Navy SEAL experiences, and so some people struggle with it because it's kind of like it's Navy violent. If it's like, dude, take the principles out of there, it's unbelievable, man.
It's very good. And if you're into listening to books too, it was a suggestion I gave on one of the other episodes we did.
Yeah, agreed.
It's an awesome one to listen to because it's Jocko.
Yep.
You get to listen to him tell these stories and teach these lessons.
And Leif.
Yep.
Leif as well, yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So that's what we wanted to talk about today.
Let's do it.
We want to talk about ownership and leadership. And we're just going to dive right in here, man. If you don't mind, I'm just going to dive right in.
It's one of my favorite topics to talk about, bro. So, yes.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything you want to say before we dive into leadership and ownership, the book, before we dive into these questions?
Well, ownership is leadership, and if that's what you're saying, but, I mean, ownership is if I were to ask 99.9% of you out there, if I were to say, hey, do you take ownership? You'd be like, yeah, I take ownership. But no, you don't. You're a victim, man, in so many different ways. You don't even recognize you're a victim. And I don't say that in a degrading way. It's literally something that is a challenge and a battle for every single one of us. But what you have to do in order for you to correct it and change it is to recognize that there are times where you're a victim, and there's certainly times where you take ownership. But the most important times, the times when things are difficult, things that you could very, very easily blame on somebody else, that's when you're a victim, man. But in reality, it's in those moments that are most important to take ownership. Man, win or learn, success or failure, it's because of you. What can you learn? How can you grow? That's what we're going to talk about today. And it's just one of the most important principles of success that I can begin to talk about.
No, and you can tell in the passion in Tyler's voice, this is one of those principles. We talk about it all the time.
Totally.
We talk about it. It's always brought up whenever we're talking about leadership. But Ty, going off of that, can you tell us about a time that you took or wish you had taken extreme ownership of a situation as a leader? So maybe a two-part question. Can you tell us a time where you wish you would have taken ownership and how that played out and what that taught you? And then maybe a time where you did take ownership and how that played out and what it taught you.
I'll tell you a pivotal, it's funny because the older you get, that's that comment.
How does that make you feel?
Shit,
you just said that out
the
loud.
older video. I think back in my life all the time, and I think that maybe it's because I think back of what made me me and experiences that have shaped me. And a lot of the times you don't recognize it in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, Inky said something so great on the podcast that we did with him. He said, sometimes you don't see the picture because you're in the frame. when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture, right?
Yeah.
And I just love how he phrased that. I just love how he explains things. But this is how this was for me. Okay, high school football is if you ask me when's the time that you didn't take ownership, I immediately go back to high school football, because I was a fairly decent football player. I loved football, but in all honesty, I felt like continually that I was the victim. And I was the victim because I allowed myself to be the victim. And I'll give you an experience, this moment that I just reflected on recently, and even sent a text message to this individual recently, thanking him for making sure that I took ownership. And we're playing Timp View, okay? So I went to school in Utah, playing a team called Timp View for the regional finals. And Timp View was good, dude. They were
always
solid.
Good.
Yeah, very solid.
If you know anything, I mean, probably people don't know a lot about Utah football, but they've always been a powerhouse.
Definitely good. And it was, first off, all of a sudden, I was already a little bit pissed because I'm the starter running back. I played running back and cornerback. So I'm starter, but play one, they bring in the other guy. They don't tell me that they're not going to, they just play one, like literally I took kickoff too, right? So I take the kickoff and then play one, they sub me out. I was like, what the hell? Right? And they bring in the other guy. Yeah. This is kind of the theme throughout the whole game, but we're getting our butts kicked. So then they start running me the ball. So they would run me up the middle, and then anything that would do a sweep or anything else, I'd run the other guy. But we're getting our butts kicked. So they now start switching some stuff up. And we're on like the 5-yard line, not about to score the other end of the field, right?
Yeah.
I drive that ball 90 yards to their 5-yard line, and then they take me out, put the other guy in to score the touchdown. And I was furious.
Yeah.
I mean, I was furious.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm walking off the sideline. My coach, his name's Scott Brumfield. Okay, played for the Bengals. Big dude, 7 feet. Scott, if you're listening to this, you're a big dude and you're intimidating as hell, man. But I'm walking off the sidelines and he's telling me, he's like, "Great job, Tyler, great job." And Brumfield, I drop an Effenheimer at him.
Okay.
Chuck my helmet. Okay. Well, Brumfield, once again, is a big dude. He comes and he picks me up, 7 feet tall, remember? Not 7 feet tall and skinny. We played O-line
for the Bengals.
For the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like, he's big, dude.
Yeah.
Picks me up, and he always had this, like, cheek full of sunflower seeds. Picks me up, and he's yelling at me. I don't know what, but he's spraying sunflower seeds in my face, and I'm like, "Rah!" And then chucks me off the side, right? Well, after the game, all my family and these people who care about me are like, "Man, that's such bullshit. That's everyone sees it." Like, I walk out the field, and I'm thinking I'm going to be in trouble because I'm dropping Effenheimers as I'm walking out the field. The stands are right there. Everyone sees it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Man, that's, gosh, Tyler, that's BS." They're feeding into my victimhood, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, those who love you the most are the ones who end up doing that, right?
Yeah. Dallas and I talked about this a few syndicates ago. But, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, one of my dad's old business partners, who is a good family friend, and I love him. His name's Dave Smith. He was the head rugby coach for BYU for a very long time. And if you don't know anything about BYU rugby, one of the best programs in the entire nation, multiple national championships, like unbelievable program. Yeah. And he comes over to me and he says, "Hey, man," and think about how uncomfortable this is for him. I haven't seen him for too long. He decides he's going to come to one of my games. My dad's not there, And what is most comfortable for him in that moment? What's most comfortable for him in that moment is to be like, to feed into my, "Hey, man, that sucks."
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
He doesn't. He pulls me aside and tells me something that nobody else had enough love to tell me, which is, "That's bullshit, Tyler. I don't care what situation it is. Don't ever let me see you do that again." And in the moment, I was like, "You're an ass." But reflective, and not a long time to reflect back. Like, I was like, that's what I needed to hear. Yeah. I didn't take ownership of that. I didn't take ownership of really my high school football career as a whole. I always played the victim. And it wasn't until I realized, like, I look back at that, I'm like, no, I played the victim. That's why that turned out the way that it did. That's the time that I didn't take ownership.
It's incredible. And one of the things that you just said that really stuck out to me is you said he was the only one to have enough love for me to tell me what I needed to hear.
Yep.
Oftentimes when we're holding people that we love accountable, it's hard for us to do that. We want to pat him on the head. We want to say, "Oh, that's bullshit. He spit seeds in your face in front of everybody." Like, you know what I mean?
You out of the game, yeah.
But really, he had probably the most love for you. At least he had the most foresight to have that love for you. And
That's it.
You know what I mean? How much it obviously has impacted you.
Totally.
To tell you that's bullshit. You shouldn't have acted like that.
Totally.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Okay, now tell us a time where you did execute.
Well, when I started to study mindset, I started to recognize these things in my life and times that I'd played the victim. Right?
Yeah.
And to the point where I became obsessed with taking ownership. And once again, in my life today, there's still times when I played the victim. And then, but the difference is, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I can see it when it's happening. Catch, redirect, right?
Yeah.
Dallas' principle, catch yourself at an error in thinking. Well, I can catch it quicker because I'm aware of what ownership really looks like. And I really, to my fucking core, believe that I am in control of my life.
Yeah.
Good or bad, it's because of me. Period. Good or bad, it's because of me, right? So times that I did execute multiple different times. Like I'll give you speaking as an example, right? I spoke before MFM was even a thing. I spoke for another company. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. I spoke for Dave Lindahl. I love Dave. We've talked about Dave multiple times. And there was a lot of things that were frustrating with Dave. You're such a star. Thank you, bro. And it's probably even fine. Like, if we're being honest, like, it probably catches it. You're good.
No, yeah.
It probably catches it anyway, but I'm like, I always play with my mic.
It's all good. I just want to make sure you're comfortable, bro.
Thank you, bro. But there's lots of things that I could have played the victim on with that. But I had this moment where it was almost like a breaking point for me. And I literally went to the team. I'm like, listen, we don't complain or place blame anywhere. We don't place blame on anything that's going on. I don't care what's going on that side. We control what we're going to control here. No excuses, no blaming, no complaining. All we're doing is we're focusing on what we can control. And what did we control? Well, dude, we absolutely broke records in every sense of the word because of what we did there. You were a part of that. You saw that happen. Right? Another time, due diligence, right? Well, there's a lot that I tell the story, but there's lots that happens in due diligence. Tons. And it's very easy, and it's such an important aspect, right? But there's so much that it's easy to miss steps, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was a property that we were doing due diligence on. It's the tools and supply inventory checklist that was my responsibility to do. And I forgot, man. I just forgot.
Yeah.
And it's, once again, that's easy process to happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, we get in, close, and tools and supply inventory checklist, you just make a list of everything of the tools and supplies on the property, and it makes it yours, okay? It doesn't increase the price, but it makes it yours. Well, I forgot to do that. So all these tools and supplies on the property, this seller had taken. Do we get in the maintenance room, and it is like white glove
Cleaned out.
clean.
Yeah.
Now, victim-based would have been like, and blame-based would have been like, oh my gosh, that seller, what a son of a bitch. I can't believe he would do that. And listen, valid, because that's a dick move to do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't get us anywhere.
No.
It's also very easy to be like, oh man, hey, don't worry, dude. It's easy. It happens. It's easy to forget something. Don't stress about it. But that's not serving in the now. It might be serving in the now, but it's definitely not serving for the future, because what we need to do by taking ownership, we learn.
Yeah.
If I say, man, if I just place blame on that seller or whatever, we don't get anywhere.
Right.
But by taking ownership, and listen to what I'm saying right here, because it'll help you understand what you can do and how powerful ownership is. By taking ownership in the moment, even though it's uncomfortable, I'm able to say, shit, that's my bad. Our systems are stressed. Because as you grow and as you progress, your systems, there's stressor points.
Yeah.
So you can either blame certain things or recognize that there's stressors, recognize that there's areas of improvement, and then improve. Now what do? We have a task management software that populates all the different steps of due diligence. We can assign it out by individual dates, filter, so that we don't miss shit. So we improved our systems, right? So by taking ownership, you're able to improve your systems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. And it's my favorite thing about ownership, because when you take ownership, you actually find the true cause of whatever is the issue.
Yes.
Right? The cause of the issue there wasn't the seller robbed you of all the tools or whatever. The problem was you had stress on your systems because you were growing and you were expanding. That was the true problem.
Totally.
Right? But taking ownership of it is recognizing it, and then what you do next with that intel. What you do next, right? There was one thing that you said. You said it might be serving in the moment to place blame, and then you quickly corrected yourself. And I just wanted to point that out because in that moment, it's so important to not place blame.
Totally.
To not even go there.
To not even allow yourself to go there.
Because the minute you go there, it's so much harder to like wrap it back up and then take ownership of it.
Yeah.
So just to, even in that moment, the moment you want to place blame, dude, you corrected yourself, but I wanted just to point it out. Don't even let yourself go there. Take ownership of it. It is.
So that is literally an actionable that you can take away because don't allow yourself to go there.
Yeah.
And don't allow others to go there. Inky said something else in the podcast where he said, man, if you allow it, people will, he was talking about his injury. And he was saying, like, if like these people that I love are like, they're almost making you feel like a victim, right? Like, hey, man, you okay? What can I do? And if you allow it, people will make you feel that way. And not in the best of intentions, right?
Yeah.
But you can't even allow it. You can't even let it sneak in, dude. You got to take full ownership. And listen,
so good.
I was just out in Tampa.
Yeah.
And tons of people there. This is a very common theme. But tons of people that are like, man, I want to be a blessing in the lives of others. I want to help others. I want to help my family. I want to help my mom. I want to help my dad. I want to help my sisters. I want to help those around me. Well, if you truly want to do that, you have to take ownership of your life, okay? You have to take ownership for literally everything that you're doing. Everything. And when I say ownership, I don't just mean a responsibility, right? This kuleana means responsibility. You have to take a responsibility for not only your life, but dude, you have to take a responsibility for the lives of others. I also believe that a success principle is not only taking ownership for your own life, but taking this responsibility, this ownership for those lives of those that you love. But in order for you to do that, you have to take ownership for your own life first. Like ownership is this ability. So ownership, if you were to look up the definition of ownership, right? It's the legal right to use, possess, or give away something. Most people miss that last part, right?
Yeah.
It's the legal right, listen to me, legal right to use, possess, or give away.
Yep.
So if you want to give anything, you have to own it first. You want to give of your life, you have to own your life. Let that sink in. You want to give of your life, you have to own your life, man. You have to own it before you can give it. My goal is to help people attack their doubts, take ownership of their life so that they can be a blessing. So elevate themselves and be a blessing in the lives of everyone they come in contact with. But in order for that to happen, you have to take ownership of your life in order to elevate your life and remove the doubts in whatever you're doing.
So powerful. It's so powerful. And like, if you weren't listening or you were driving and you were distracted, you got a text message, rewind and re-listen to that last part. If you want to give it away, you have to own it first. Mm-hmm. If you truly want to serve somebody, you have to serve yourself and take care of yourself to be able to give that away. Totally, dude. So powerful. Yeah. And I never heard it put that way. I love that. That was awesome. Okay, dude. I've got some more questions.
Let's do it.
Does the weight of taking ownership as a leader weigh you down? And how do you push back and keep leading and just keep leading forward during those times?
Does the weight of taking ownership as leader weigh you down? I don't believe that's the case at all. I don't believe the ownership wears you down because ownership is you're in control of it, right? You control. Good or bad, it's because you're controlling the narrative. Instead of being a victim of circumstance, you're the creator of circumstance.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that taking ownership wears you down. I believe that being a victim wears you down. Like nothing is more exhausting than feeling hopeless, dude. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the answer to that question. Like, does the weight of taking ownership wear you down?
As a leader. Yeah. As a leader, does it weigh you down?
Like, no, dude, it's like, I would say no, dude. I don't know. I mean, I think that leadership is something that takes energy. So does it wear you down? I don't know if I like that, but I understand the question though for sure. But I would flip it, and I think that the other way does. Yeah. You just believe that, right? Yeah. But leadership takes energy, so I want to make that clear. Like, dude, it takes energy. And when you're taking ownership for others and yourself, and I mean, it takes energy.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this. Maybe let me phrase this question a little bit different, because this is a question that I've been having, and that this isn't something that we pre-prepared. So I'm kind of hitting you out of left field with this question, but I think you'll appreciate it. The other day I was thinking about leadership, ownership, and the importance of it, right? And leadership a lot of the times too is giving credit away, right? When shit's going good, you give that credit away. When we talk about leadership and ownership is owning things as well when they're not good.
Yeah, especially when they're not.
Especially when they're not good, right? So I think maybe that's what this question is trying to lead towards is, if we're a leader and we're giving away all the good credit and we're trying to pass that off to our people, and we're taking all the credit for the bad stuff that's happening and having that weigh on us, it's almost like you're like stuck in a little paradox of giving away all the good but taking all the bad. Yeah. So I guess the question is, how do you manage that? Yeah. Would be the better question, because I'm sure that you do feel that weight. You know what I mean? That does weigh you down. That there is some weight on it. But how do you manage? How do you go about managing that?
That's a great reframe, man, of it. So when things are going good, I love how you said this, because I actually believe that this is the sign of a good leader as well.
Yeah.
Is when things are going great, dude, you're giving credit
to the
where
team.
Credit is
Yeah,
due.
absolutely.
And that comes down to gratitude. And so when I'm giving that credit, listen to what I'm saying. When I'm giving credit, it doesn't take away.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we feel like if we're giving credit, it may take away from your credibility. It does not. It doesn't take away from what you've done. What you've done is you're now recognizing what other people have done too. They recognize what you've done.
Yeah.
And if they don't, well, man, but you do. You got to recognize it. But you also need to recognize what they've done. Yeah. That's the sign of a good leader.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get anywhere as a team. Really, you don't accomplish anything noteworthy without a team. Like, literally noteworthy without a team. So you recognize that, right? But now when it comes down to things aren't going well and you taking the ownership for that, that doesn't mean that you don't have them take ownership too.
Right.
But you want to know how you get them to take ownership? Let me give you an example. Anytime, so let's say we do an event, right? Now let's say that the event doesn't go as planned. And the first thing that most people will want to do, right? Because you're up there, just take it from I'm up there speaking, training, long hours. You know that, you've seen it.
Yeah, all day.
And
3 days.
I've been in this industry for a long time. I've worked with a whole bunch of speakers, and because you're up there and they're grinding, and I've been on the other end, right? Because they're up there, they're nonstop grinding. The first place, like if something doesn't go as planned, they want to point the finger.
Yeah.
Well, man, I was doing my job, but listen, that's literally if you want people to take ownership, you can't place blame.
No.
You want people. Once again, you want people to take ownership, you have to take ownership.
Yeah.
So if something doesn't go as planned, it's not that I'm not saying that they shouldn't take ownership. What I'm doing is I know how to get that result. I will send a message, or I will, or have a team meeting, or we'll jump on a phone call, and I will identify specific things that I should have done better. Why? Because if I'm ever going to lead anybody else, I have to lead myself.
Yeah.
I have to have a higher standard for myself. And it's like, shit, man, I didn't do this. I could have done this better. I see how, because what does that do? It helps you grow. And as you like literally see that, and you're like, hey, man, guys, this is what I could have done better, man. I saw that I should have done this, and that probably made your job hard here. And man, I apologize. Like, I promise you that as we go into this, I'm going to do this to make your job easier here. And I should have done, as you're doing that, they're seeing you grow as a person. Well, dude, growth is, people want that, man.
It's contagious.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, thank you. Growth is, thank you. Teamwork. Growth is contagious. Yeah. So what will happen? Everyone on the team will start to identify things that they could have done. Don't let them be vague, though, dude. Because what happens is then sometimes once the one or two people do it, the rest just want to jump on board because one or two people have done it. They're like, oh, well, we're all, hey, I could have done better too. How?
Yeah, how? Be more specific.
Yeah. How? I know you could have done better. You want to know how I can? You don't want to know how I know you could have done better? Because every fucking thing can improve. Every single motherfucking thing can improve. Always. I don't care what level you're at. I don't care what you just achieved. Do you want to know what I think is most important? When you have just hit this threshold, when you have hit these goals, also identify things you could have done better.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because there's always things you could have done better. Yes, it's important to celebrate in that moment, be like, hey man, we hit this, right?
Yeah.
But it's also important in that moment to be like, what could we do better? Then at that moment when things go, this is actually a huge principle, okay? Then I want to drill back and reverse engineer back into, because in this moment where things didn't go the way that you wanted them to, and now you're taking ownership, well, if that is just how you live your life, period, when things are going great, or then people aren't looking at it like, hey, I'm trying to place blame, or hey, he's trying. That's how we live our life. Hey man, this went great. Here's what I could have done better.
Yeah.
Hey, this didn't go great. Here's what I could have done better. Hey, this went great. Here's what I did great. Here's what we could have done better. Right? Yeah. It's like, now it's just how you live your life. Now it's just, you're training all those that you're leading to like, no, dude, good or bad, what could we have done better? Because the only way, like this goal that you hit, that now becomes the floor.
Yeah.
Next goal you hit now becomes the floor. Next goal you hit now becomes the floor, right?
Yeah.
You only do that, though, if you're really looking at what you did, great, how you can improve, because every single thing can improve, always, always.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you for breaking that down. It's been one of those things that, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people think about it often, is weighing that weight of being a leader. But as you're saying, dude, it's like, it's as you're doing those things, you're growing.
But bro, think about what you said there. Because you said that weight of being a leader, because that weight of like, hey, you're taking all the blame, but you're giving all the credit when things go good. You tell me one time when you've given somebody a sincere compliment that's not energizing.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't exist.
It's energizing.
Yeah.
So now if you're giving an insincere compliment, that's not energizing, nor is it serving.
Yeah.
So be real, man. Be real with the people that you're working with and leading, right? If they did great, well, first off, there's always things that they did great. I just believe that.
Yeah.
So sandwich it, right? Hey, man, this is what you did great. This is what we could be better. And let them identify it, dude. If you even just ask that question, they'll identify it. But hey, yeah, great. That's awesome. But you did this awesome. And yeah, you sandwich it. This is what you did great. This is what you could do better. But then once again, this is why you're so great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So good. So good. Okay. Moving on here. Next question. Who are some modern day leaders or leaders from the past that you study to gain leadership inspiration from for you?
One of my favorites is the book. Let's just go this route. The book of the month is Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
Is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Right.
And I would say that's where I truly learned what extreme ownership even means. Is from Jocko. It's from Jocko. Like, it's what I learned it. Like, it's really where I tried to like learned it and internalized it. Right.
Yeah.
So Jocko for sure, man. Just understanding that in the moment, man. It's not. I remember he gives this example in the book where something goes wrong on a mission, and they go into, they're now having to. I'm gonna butcher this, but something goes wrong on a mission. They're now going to go in and they have to debrief with one of the upper echelon leaders who's now come in, and Jocko gets up. He's like, "Whose fault is this?" And somebody from the team says, "It's my fault." And Jocko says, "It's not your fault. Sit down." Somebody else says, "It's my fault, sir. I did this. It's not your fault. Sit down. It's my fault." And then the whole team ends up doing this. And then what does Jocko say? He says, "It's none of your fault, man. It's my fault. I'm the leader. I should have saw this. I should have done this." And he takes extreme ownership. What happens? What happens to that team? Unified. What happens if you're the leader? Like, listen, as a leader, something doesn't go right, something doesn't go as planned, and that person reports back up, and they're like, I'm just telling as a person. So if you're in the organization, maybe take some notes right here. You call me and you're like, "Hey man, this didn't go as planned because of X, Y, Z, and then but this happened and then this happened," and you're blaming. I mean, dude, respect level is diminishing very quickly. And I won't let you ride that train for too long, dude. I'll listen, and then very quickly recorrect. But if you call me, you're like, "Hey man, damn it, this didn't go well. This is what I could have done better." That call will be 5 minutes, dude. It'll be 5 minutes, and you know it'll be what that will be. It'll be me giving you massive praises for just taking ownership and recognizing things that you could have done better. Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
Like, period.
And encouraging to do those things that you recognize that you need to do better.
That's it.
So good. Okay, dude. So, kind of a long.
So Jocko. So let me give you a couple more though.
Okay.
Jocko.
Yeah.
John Wooden. John Wooden. He's the coach for, he's passed away now, but one of the winningest coaches. I think probably even still to this day has to be.
I think
coach
so.
Coach UCLA. Ed Milet is a big one for me. I love Ed. I just like what Ed stands for, and I'm part of RTA with him and seeing him lead. Well, dude, Andy as a leader, even like going to First Form and seeing like the culture that he's created there, you don't create that culture without good leadership.
Right.
Larry Yatch is an amazing leader. Like I watched Larry Yatch. His book is
How Leadership Actually Works.
Thank you, dude. How Leadership Actually Works. He will be at Peak Partnership. Well, now this will probably air after Peak Partnership. He was at Peak Partnership 2 years in a row. Last year we had Ed Milet. We had
Eric
E.T. Well, dude, we sent a survey out after one of the top speakers on everyone's list, Larry Yatch, dude. The guy's a great leader. I love learning from him. I'm part of a Navy SEAL training group that he's a part of where he mentors me. Love my time with him. And then my last one, Jesus Christ, man. He's the best leader. Like, just leads out of love, example, and that dude takes ownership for everything and helps people take ownership for everything in their life. So I think he's the best example of leadership. And do you remember who told me that the very first time? I mean, I've heard this a million times, but
no, you remind me.
Jackson Campbell, also with the initials JC, in case you ain't keeping up. Well, we were on a leadership call, and I asked him.
No, this was a personal call. This was
Was
just
it?
Yeah, this was just you and I. Don't share this with everybody.
And I asked you, give me one of your best examples of a leader, and your first, like right out the gate, Jesus Christ. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Why do you identify him as one of the best leaders?
Dude, from what you said, example. Yeah, just a loving leader example of how to live a life.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Service.
Yeah, service, just service based and loving, man. Now that's where I've always pulled it from for Jesus Christ.
Love it.
For sure. Yeah.
Some people misunderstand love, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Some people think that love is coddling. Could not disagree more. It's not love, man. Mm-mm. That's not love. Jay Shetty. I just heard Jay Shetty on a clip or a podcast or somewhere, and he's like, "Man, I'm preparing this. I was gonna give." He was officiating a wedding, and he went through it with his wife right before the wedding, and the day before. And his wife's like, "You got to change that. That's horrible." And he's like, and my ego like comes up, and he's like, my ego was like, what? Do you know who I am? I'm Jay Shetty, you know? Like, that's my ego coming up. But then he's like, but then I realized, like, my wife just wants it to go great. My wife just loves me and wants it to go great. She has no ulterior motive except she just wants it to go great.
Right.
That's love. Love is being willing to be like, that ain't good. You know how often Brittany does that to me? So much. And in the moment, same thing with Jay, my pride. But then if I really listen, it's like, she just wants it to go great, man. Yeah. Love is being willing to tell somebody, listen, love is willing to being willing to tell somebody, hey, you got some shit in your teeth. Not pretending like that stuff in their teeth ain't there. That ain't love, man. True love is being willing to be like, hey, man, you got shit in your teeth. Clean that shit out. I got you. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yes. So good. Okay, dude, so that kind of leads into this next question. What's the difference between a good leader and a great leader?
So I think that there is leadership, and then there's somebody who's in leadership, and then somebody who's a leader.
Okay.
Somebody who's in leadership, that's a position. It's a position that you hold, you're in leadership. But a leader, it has nothing to do with position. Hierarchy, zero.
I believe it has nothing to do with your job.
Literally nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, man.
Yeah.
Like, no matter where you're at in this hierarchy of an organization, if we're going that route,
sure,
you can lead from wherever. The best leaders are the best followers, and the best followers are the best leaders, right? So leadership has nothing to do with how many people follow you either, man. I believe what makes a good leader versus a great leader, a good leader, well, they'll lead, right? They know how to tell people what to do. Cool. A great leader has a higher standard for themselves than anybody else. It's not about how many people follow you. It means that you have a higher standard for your life than anybody else. A higher expectation for yourself, not a higher expectation for others. And if we're being honest, this is where I struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I have a very high expectation for myself, and then I let that expectation carry down into others. And that's when I will get frustrated.
Yeah.
That's when it'll start to wear me down. I'll be like, gosh, damn, man.
Yeah.
Why can't you live up? Hey, man, I set that standard for myself.
Yeah.
I set that standard for myself, dude. You can't expect that they now. Would it be awesome if they had a higher standard for themselves? Sure, dude.
Yeah.
But you set that for you, and then in the moment, then I switched to gratitude. So here's your you switch to gratitude. Then that gratitude is now like, okay, wait. That's what makes me different. Okay, that's what makes me different.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, instead of being frustrated about what you think is a weakness of those people, now you're grateful for a strength that you have. And all that comes down to is setting a higher standard. So what does it take to be a great leader versus a good leader? A great leader has a higher standard on how they live their life than anybody else.
Yeah.
A higher standard for how they live their life than anyone else. As a person and as an individual, man, that's what will create long-lasting success in your life in every single area of your life, and that is what is critical if you're going to have a long-lasting company.
Yeah.
And then helping people do those exact same things, patiently, lovingly. But do you know how you do that? You live your life in a higher standard. People will recognize that, and people will naturally follow.
Yep.
People will naturally follow, meaning naturally want to enhance their expectation for themselves and their lives, right?
Yep. And also, to just kind of bring it back to the beginning, is you can't lead or give yourself to others unless you own yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of just looping that back together. You have to lead yourself and take ownership of yourself before you can serve and even be in the position to lead.
Totally.
So good. So good. So Ty, what is the value of surrounding yourself with other leaders or those who take ownership?
What's the value of surrounding yourself with other leaders or those who take ownership?
Yeah. How has that made a difference for you?
Massive.
You've had multiple partners. Mm-hmm. I know you've had partners even before Ryan, Todd, even before that you've had multiple partners. So, and maybe some partners that haven't taken ownership like your current partners take ownership. What's that difference been like working with people that do take ownership rather than people that want to place blame?
Massive, dude, because something changes when you own something.
Yeah.
What's the first thing, can you think of in your mind, like one of the first things that you, like, a lot of times you think of ownership when you bought something. Like when you worked hard, when you bought something. Like, can you think of something in your life where that's that first thing that you bought and you owned?
Geez. Yeah, What? Yeah, it was my first little car that I bought.
And how did you treat that thing?
Loved that thing, dude. Loved that thing. 2007. Little Jeep Compass.
Hold on.
Loved that thing.
Your first car was a 2007?
It was.
No, we just are from a different generation. Holy shit, that's a sure something from 2007?
Yeah.
Shit, dude, that's like my first car was a 1990. You son of a bitch.
Sorry, bro. It was even 10 years old at the time when I bought it, dude. So how old does that make you feel now?
Super old. Okay, but what did you do? How did you treat that thing?
I love that thing, dude.
Yeah.
Cleaned it. Maintenance was on point. It wasn't that great of a vehicle, but I took really good care of it.
We all have those things in our lives that we can relate back to, like, man, this thing that you owned, right?
Yeah.
I look back at one of the first mitts that I ever bought. Like, I remember working and buying this Wilson mitt that was like a couple $100, which is like this big deal, but it was so sexy, dude. It was a short, like, I was a shortstop at the time, so it was like this sexiest freaking mitt. And I cared so much for that thing, dude. Oiled it, all that kind of stuff, right? Cars definitely come into there. Another one is, it's gonna sound funny, but shoes.
Yeah.
Shoes. Like when I bought my very first pair of nice dress shoes, dude, kept them. Shoe horns in there. I'd never used shoe horns. Shoe horns?
Yeah.
Shoe
right.
trees.
Shoe
trees. Well, shoe trees to keep the crease. Shoe horns to put it on.
Dude,
both.
Dude, look at you.
See, something different. Something changes when you own something.
Yeah.
Something changes when you take ownership for it. So when you surround yourself with people who take ownership for their lives and ownership for what you're creating, it changes you too. Because they've elevated their lives to a certain level, it naturally forces you to elevate your life to a certain level. So surrounding yourself with people who have taken ownership, things change when you take ownership, dude. Companies are best that way. But dude, life is best that way. Life is best lived when it's owned. Life is best lived when it's owned. Own your life. So what has it done? It's elevated me as a person, and then we elevate each other as people, because not all the time do I take ownership.
Yeah.
It's like positivity. I would like to say that I'm positive all the time.
Right.
No, I'm not, dude. Sometimes you have to be, hey, You're being a negative little bitch right now.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
I need that in my life. And guess what? You need that in your life. Everyone needs that in your life, right? To help people recorrect you. So surrounding myself with people like that has been massive, not just for the businesses we've created, but for the person and the life that we're creating as individuals. Right?
Yeah. So as a leader, and you're doing these things, how do you maybe remove yourself or remove those individuals that don't row in the same direction? And how long do you lead with love before that love is taken advantage of?
Great fucking question, bro. This is a great question, because what do most people view as love? Love is enduring. It endureth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, dude, what mission are we on right now? What's the most important mission? Look at it as a company as an example. What's the most important mission we're on as a company? What are we Your shirt says invest with Aloha, so does mine.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Invest with the
What's the most important thing we invest in? Sorry.
Yeah, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah, I was getting there.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And the people that we serve, right?
Yeah.
Well, because I said, what does it mean?
Right.
And then what I meant to say is, what do we invest in, right?
Right.
So people will hear that and they'll be like, okay, so if you invest in people, then your job is to pour into people and help them better their lives. You're damn right. That is our job. But guess what? It's their job to take ownership for their life. And when they don't do that, well, man, the most important thing, the mission is far greater than any person. The minute that I believe that I am a deterrent, that I'm a detriment to the mission, I will remove myself from whatever I'm the detriment in at that point. And I'm dead serious. Like, I've had these conversations multiple times where it's like, hey man, am I best suited to be the CEO? Am I best suited to be the CEO? Because I want to know, man.
Yeah.
Like, once again, that's not a knock on me. That's not a knock on anything. It's like, dude, I want to make sure that the mission we're on far outlives me. Yeah. Outlives any of us, right?
Yeah.
So it's a survival tactic. So you train, you teach. But what do, man? You give people the opportunity to take ownership for their life. But it's my job, if I'm taking ownership, it's my job to take ownership for the direction of the company. And if there is something that is harming or hurting or impeding the direction of the company and all those we serve and all those we serve with, it's not a hard decision.
Yeah.
We can remove out of love. You want to know why? Because if that person that we're removing is not rowing in the direction, it's loving to let them go and move in a direction that they can row in.
Yeah.
That is best for them.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I would love everyone's goals to be achieved underneath this umbrella that we have with these amazing companies. And I believe that they can be. I literally believe that everyone's goals can be achieved within what we have created, as long as your goals are in line with the direction that we're going. Some people have a goal to go left and we're going left and we're going right. Right?
Yeah.
So, dude, it's having a loving conversation of it's not a fit.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm under the impression of you're slow to hire, meaning you vet, and quick to fire, man. Quick to fire, meaning if you bring somebody on, and listen to what I'm saying when I say this, let's just be real for a second.
Yeah.
We're in an environment right now. Listen to what I'm saying. We're in an environment right now. And whether you recognize this or not, well, you need to recognize this. How many people are doing layoffs right now?
Oh, I have no idea.
Shitloads of layoffs.
Is it happening?
Shit tons of layoffs. Well, okay. What all that means is that now there's more available workforce out there. And if you don't recognize this, okay, if somebody can come in and do your job better than you can do, well, then that person's going to be hired and you're going to be fired. That is not a knock to you. That is not a cutthroat world. What that is the mission of a company. The mission of a company. So what does that mean? What does that mean for you? You're like, oh my God, that's terrifying. I'm going to be this victim of circumstance because somebody could come in and nip at my ass and I'm gone. That's being a victim of circumstance. You want to be the creator of circumstance? Let me tell you how you separate yourself aside. I know I'm looking at that camera because I'm talking right to them, dude, because you already know this shit.
No, go, bro.
But listen, man, how you separate yourself, you take ownership for your life. You take ownership. How do you take ownership? I do not worry about companies coming to nip at our ass and knock us off the pedestal. Because the minute that I do that will be the minute that we get knocked off the pedestal. I do not worry about somebody else's success over here. I celebrate that success. What I do is I make sure that I take ownership of my life to make sure that I elevate myself as an individual to a point where everything that I can control Everything that I can control, I take care of that, going above and beyond. And then that will naturally elevate the company, right? Weaponizing everyone underneath you to be able to do that. But as individuals, we have to take ownership of our own lives. So if I want to make sure that my position is secure, my position is safe, well, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do everything in my power to go above and beyond. You're not special because you do your job. You're not special because you come in and you do what you're paid to do. You're paid to do what you're paid to do. That doesn't make you special. What makes you special is the extra shit that you do above and beyond what you're paid to do. That's how you secure yourself. That's how you can continue to grow. That's how you take ownership. That's how you make sure that you're not the victim of circumstance, but the creator of circumstance. That shit. That's taking ownership. The minute that you start being fearful that somebody is going to take your job is the minute that you'll start focusing more there, more on the fear. And what you really need to do is focus more on the production. Focus on the production. That's taking ownership.
Yeah. Dude, so good. So good. Gosh, so powerful. No, I thought it was funny how you looked over at me and said, I know I'm talking straight to the camera, but it's so powerful, and I really want everybody to hear it, dude.
Totally, bro.
It's such good stuff, and it's really we're up on time. Mm-hmm. One of my biggest takeaways from this episode, I just wanted to highlight before we move into the Hawaiian value, is from all of the things we've talked about when it comes to ownership, when it comes to leadership. All of it comes back down to owning yourself and owning your life. Yep. And if you can truly do that, it sounds easy. It sounds easy, right? Sure. It sounds like own your life, make sure you're doing what you need to do. And it sounds so easy. But if you can do that, then all of these other things are just natural consequences of owning your own life. Owning your own life. What another thing that I've taken out of this episode is owning your own life is a continuation. It's a process. It's something that you're always doing. Always. You're always owning your life. It's not like all of a sudden you have ownership and now all of these things are gonna work out. You are always taking ownership of your life. You're always taking ownerships of the new things in your life. So it's a continuous thing, and it's something that you're always doing. Yep. It's not just a moment. It's not just a decision, but it's an action that you're doing constantly that you're living by.
Totally.
Thank you,
And then what do you do? Question. Yeah. What do you do when bad shit happens? Because bad shit does happen.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you do in that moment?
You take ownership.
And how do you do that?
By dissecting what happened.
Yeah.
And looking into it and seeing what you could have done different in that situation.
Yep.
To maybe have created a different outcome.
That's it, dude. Listen, bad shit does happen to people. Mm-hmm. Like, bad shit happens. Like, bad shit happens to great people. But how do you truly take ownership in that moment when something bad happens? You just look at it for what it is, dude. Mm-hmm. And you look at this bigger perspective. Okay, this is one moment in my entire life. Yeah. How can I use this moment to strengthen myself to be better down here? Mm-hmm. How can I use this moment right here to strengthen myself to be better down here? You take perspective, man. You take perspective. Bad shit happens. But listen, man, if you're always expecting and worrying and wondering if bad shit will happen, it will absolutely happen at a higher, quicker rate. Yeah. It just will. Yeah. So what do? Find gratitude in every single moment, man. That's why I believe gratitude is an absolute hack. But find gratitude in every single moment of your life and what's happening within your life, and then become the creator of circumstance, but not the victim of circumstance. You're only the victim if you allow yourself to stay the victim in that moment. Alchemist, quick example. Alchemist, one of my favorite books, and right in the very beginning, he sells all of his sheep, crosses over into Africa to pursue his definite major, or his personal legend is what they call it, and day one, all of his money gets stolen. Well, that's a shitty thing that happened to that dude. Yeah. That's a shitty thing that happened. And it depicts him sitting in this city square in a foreign country, doesn't know the language, and he says, I can either view myself as a poor victim of a thief, true perspective, or as an adventurer looking for his treasure, better perspective. So what do? You define the different perspectives, and then you sell yourself in the direction of whatever one is most serving. And being a victim is never most serving. No. This direction is the one that's most serving. Sell yourself in that direction all day, every day.
Love it. So good. So good. Aloha Value, Ty. You got one for us today?
Alakai.
Alakai?
Alakai?
I think so.
Alakai. means leading by good example and stepping forward to take the initiative. It's leadership, right? You become a better leader by setting personal goals to better yourself. You want to lead others, lead yourself. Alakai means that you're going to lead yourself, man, all the time. That's number one. And you do that, the rest of the stuff is inevitable, man. It's a byproduct of it. Mm-hmm. I became a better leader when I just took responsibility of my life and then responsibility of helping other people's lives become better, man. Yeah. But also understanding that, listen, man, you cannot make anyone successful. You cannot make anyone do anything. You can give people opportunities. But then you have to, if you're truly taking ownership, you have to know which ones to pour your energy into and which ones are no longer worth the energy that you're pouring into them. Yeah. That's literally taking ownership, man. Yeah. Instead of just being this victim of like, oh my God, I poured so much energy into this person, they're still just a douche. Well, then course correct, man. Yeah. Cut, bait, survival mechanism, move forward. That's ownership. Be a good leader, dude. Be a good leader. You have to be a good person. To be a good person, you have to elevate every single day. That's what you do.
Be an example. I love it. Tyler, thank you.
Hey, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. All y'all out there, take ownership for everything in your lives and elevate yourself. Elevate by taking ownership in your life and elevating your life, you'll be able to be a blessing to every single person you come in contact with. And that's the ultimate goal, man. Human connection and making a difference. So go do that, rate, share, review, do all those kind of things, and then live always with aloha. Peace.